Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Today, I'm joined by director, producer, and assistant director Adam Benish. How you doing today, man?
Really good, man. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, dude, this is so incredible to have you. Some of your major credits include The Witch, the VVitch from 2016. Holy shit, what an incredible film. The Manhattan Project from 2018, and the Academy Award-winning Best Picture film Spotlight from 2015. What was it like to be a part? Like, I got to ask you about The Witch, because this is a film that, when I talk about the most underrated films that come out in the last 10 years, this is always towards the top of the list. The fact that this didn't get the mainstream attention it deserves is disgusting because it's considered a horror movie. What was it like being on the set of The Witch and working with that project?
That project, The Witch, it was really interesting because we, all of the filmmakers involved were relatively at that point unknown. The director, I think his credits included being an art director. So we didn't know what we were making. And a lot of the time, even the filmmakers aren't sure, but they're hoping for the best. But in this scenario, it was a low budget film shot, being prepped in the East End of Toronto. And the conversation happening was we're going to be going 4 hours up north to film it. And we just need to prep and prep and prep. And one of the key fundamentals that they always talked about is we want every dollar to show up on the screen. And they knew the money that they had, they knew what they were working with. Talking to the museums at Plymouth Rock, who actually gave their wardrobe to us. So the authenticity for that film was superb. And Edgar was a fantastic guy to work with. As a PA, he had a lot of respect because he knew what he was making deep down was something special. And that's what we ended up doing with that film.
And it really is. And like I said, this is one of my favorite films to come out in the last 20 years. I think it's absolutely underrated. It's so much fun to watch. And I do want to talk a little bit, too, about your debut independent short, Holdout. Fantastic film. I don't want to get too spoiler about this, but you guys can watch the trailer. The link is down here in the description. So that premiered at Horror Hound Film Festival. I'm great friends with the Horror Hound people. They are fantastic people. I love them so much. In the US, it recently made its European premiere at the Russian International Horror Film Festival, Austin After Dark, and the Hamilton Film Festival. What is it like to be all around the globe, all around the earth? What is that like for you to have the first short you've really, your first independent short is all over the world right now? What's that feel like for you?
It's really surreal because you put so much work into, developing the story that you think is going to be entertaining to an audience. You put in all this effort into shooting it, and you can watch not just horror, but any, genre of film. And you're like, okay, I get that. This shot to this shot ties into this shot that delivers this feeling. And, a cake can taste great. But when you're the one that has to take the ingredients and put it together. And it wasn't until the Hamilton Film Festival where I actually got to sit in a theater with actual human beings. There was about 150 people for the Hamilton Shorts block, and I got to feel the giggles, the gasp, and then the ending with the way it builds up to a suspenseful ending, and I got to feel just that from the people, and to get an applause after that, there's no price you can put on that. It feels great.
Congratulations, my friend. That is fucking awesome to hear. I mean, and the fact that you're still so humble about it, I'm glad that you took that moment in and appreciated it for everything that it was, because there comes a point where a lot of people just stop caring that, oh yeah, that's what I do. But, I've talked to a couple people recently that have been so humble and so down to earth and so appreciative of this opportunity that they're given. And I'm so proud of you, man. I'm so happy that you're doing this. And, once we get off of one intersection, we come right to another. And Soapbox, your first feature film, is in development right now. And this is a film following the underbelly of Hamilton gangsters. Now, making a short is extremely hard work. I don't want anybody to think that there's anything easy just because it's a short film that makes it easier. Not the case. But man, working on your first full-length feature, what's that been like for you?
It's a lot in the sense that, you know, it's more than any feature, but it's the way you approach how to make it. And I've worked in Hamilton a lot as an assistant director, and I've worked within the scope of the schedule and the budget, similar to what I'm going to be attempting with this film. So knowing how to break down a script and knowing how to tie everything together from a logistical point of view has given me it's given me a lot of comfort in knowing, like, okay, like I can make this schedule wise. Now I can, you know, put that aside and I can focus on what I need to make it, you know, artistically, and the elements that I need to do. And I think the fact that this film is so grounded to blue collar, it's, you know, blue collar criminals, and the story is being told in a blue collar city. It's being told in a steel city, and because of that, I just feel very comfortable in what I'm attempting to make. I'm not trying to, you know, make something I'm not familiar with. I'm not trying to make something that's out of my, you know, ballpark. There's a lot of representation of, you know, the Hamilton working class, and that's a big component of this film that I think is going to help me ground my work and hopefully deliver something, you know, impactful. Because again, to hold an audience's you know, interest for an hour and a half, it's going to be challenging, but it's a challenge I'm definitely looking forward to doing in 2022.
Dude, and I can't wait to watch this. And you guys don't have to wait for me to update you, because I have all of Adam's social media links right down here in the description, along with the trailer for Holdout. So make sure not only you're watching the trailer for Holdout, follow him on social media. That way you can get every up-to-the-minute update about what he's doing when the new films are coming out and the new series. Oh, yeah, we didn't talk about that yet. Your first scripted series, Dead Elephants, a thriller anthology about mental illness. I want to talk about this before we get into the reason that we're here, because anybody that knows me knows what mental illness means to me. Autism is something that is very prevalent in my life with my children, and I've lost so many friends to suicide. And I mean, I'm in Michigan, as many of you know. I just talked about this on a previous episode, and the Oxford shooting just happened here, and I believe that this could have been prevented with the right help, and if we were looking for the right things to watch for. So mental health, we need to lose. I'm so sorry I keep saying this to everybody, but we got to lose the stigma that, oh, people say I'm crazy, I have mental health issues, there's something wrong with me. If you have cancer, there's nothing wrong with you. It's a disease. It's something, but mental health is something that you can get help for. So don't have that stigma. It's not taboo. There's nothing wrong with you. Go out and seek the help that you need. Get the help. Everybody, my DMs are always open. If you ever need someone to talk to, you don't really know me that well, I won't judge you. I know sometimes it's hard to talk to your friends and family because you're scared they'll judge you. I'm always here, guys. Mental illness is nothing to, you know, poo-poo at. So if you ever need someone, we're always here for you guys. Now, with Dead Elephants, I don't know anything about this. You know, I'm an open book to everybody. We haven't talked about this yet, but you say it's about mental illness. Can you get into that at all? Or are you still kind of like in the NDA part of that?
Not the NDA, but we are in the still developing what story arcs we want to focus on specifically. What we're hoping to do with that is, you know, take a subject matter such as suicide, or such as just social faux pas, and we really want to show that the issue that people can deal with isn't so much internally amongst themselves, but like you kind of just mentioned, how society interprets, you know, who you are and what you are. And so, for example, one of our episodes that we have revolves, you know, the elevator pitch is a college student who decides to become a cam girl in order to fund her schooling for the remainder of the year. And what ends up happening is she's terrorized by these phantom spirits that, you know, look at her as somebody who's, you know, disgusting or not accepted by society, and those phantom spirits are supposed to be society themselves. Because as much as, you know, we can look at something like pornography, we'll then look at the people that are on camera and think that they're less than human or they're nothing, when we indulge in that all the same. And so to take that and make that is its own arcing episode, and then be able to look at so many other vast issues with society for every other episode is something that I'm really excited to get into.
As a 35-year-old man, I can honestly say that I feel sex work is work. You know, cam girls, it's your body, it's your choice. Do what you want. Sex work is work. You do what you got to do. I wouldn't want my daughters to be a part of it. That's just the father in me, you know. But it happens, man, and nobody needs to be looked down as less, like you said, less of a person. That's a slut, you know. Like, come on,
yeah, exactly.
Don't do it. Don't fucking do it. Don't judge somebody until you've walked in their shoes. And especially the last thing a man ever needs to do is judge a woman that's doing something like that, because you have no idea the circumstance that drove her to be that. Maybe she really loves it. Doesn't make her a slut. A guy goes out and fucks 100 people. They don't call him a slut. He's a cool dude, you know. But a woman has sex with 2 men and she's a slut. Stop the stigmas, man. Knock it off. Sex work is work. Women are cam girls. Guys enjoy them, then they call them a slut, just like you said. So I'm glad you guys are tackling issues like that need to be made more prevalent. You know, and horror's always been good at doing that. You go back to Night of the Living Dead, you got a black guy protecting a white woman. You know, horror's always been ahead of the curve when it comes to social issues and things like that. So it's really nice to hear that you're tackling something that's so serious right now, because like you said, there's a lot of things like OnlyFans is taking away the sex work. And it's like, man, a lot of these women are making a lot of money doing this. And you're just you're taking food out of their kids' mouth for what, you know?
And I think with something you mentioned too, like using the lens of horror to tackle some subjects, you know, you get some fantastic stuff. Like Jordan Peele's Get Out is such an amazing film, and how he approached it. And the thing is that's somebody who, you know, was on the industry as a funny man, and then he decided to, but he clearly had this passion project that he had been working on for years. And when he made it, it, like, you know, it was groundbreaking.
And it's still, everybody loves Get Out. I've never met anybody. Me personally, I adore Get Out. I wasn't a huge fan of Us. I'm very excited for Nope, but I loved Get Out. And the thing about Get Out is it really, really helped to bring Black horror to the foreground. Black horror has always been around, but a lot of people point to Get Out as like the starting point of Black horror. And it's like, I'm glad that you got the education into Black horror. Go back and keep looking at it. Go back and look at, you know, now we got like horror noir and all these things that are coming out that are really helping to shape, you know, Black horror. And it's amazing to see all this stuff getting put to the foreground that should have been there for a long time. So like you said, with Jordan Peele, he's able to start something, and hopefully people can go back and learn about things that, you know, The People Under the Stairs is a great, Tales from the Hood, another great example. You know, these movies that I grew up absolutely adoring. Candyman, you know, I think Candyman is one of the best love stories in a horror movie of all time. I mean, you look at everything he did for that woman throughout time, you know, like he died for her, he was beaten for her, he came back for her. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. And I love Black horror. I love horror in general, obviously, but I'm glad that we're getting that stigma away from this is a white genre. It's not. It never has been. Never has been. Horror is the most inclusive genre. Doesn't matter if you're Black, white, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, LGBTQ. It doesn't matter. You want to talk Freddy Krueger? We're going to hug you and talk about it. Period. We don't care about anything else. You want to talk horror? We're with you. We're family. So, man, I'm so excited for all the things you have coming up in the future and everything you're doing right now. I'm so proud of you and all the cool things you're doing. Help bringing horror to the foreground of everything. And now, my friend, I want to take it back to the past. And I want to talk about what got you started in the horror genre that we both know and love so well. Your first horror movie, and your first horror movie was?
My first horror movie was Event Horizon.
If you take Alien and you mix that with Hellraiser, you have Event Horizon. This is a movie that it's so upsetting doesn't get the recognition and love it deserves in the horror community. This is a scary movie, and the premise of it is even scarier. Do you remember how old you were the first time you had seen it?
I was like 11.
wow. And the thing about this movie is, for those of you that haven't seen Event Horizon, I cannot recommend strongly enough you guys going to watch this movie right now. Big name actors. It's a really big set, really big cinematography. Some of the CGI may not hold up as well today, but the story behind it is just amazing. Do you remember who you were with the first time you had seen it?
Yeah. So, you know, this was a weekend event, and we started at Blockbuster, which, you know what that is, but a lot of people might not. And, like any Blockbuster weekend, you pick, one or two movies, and this would be the kind of thing where we would always watch the movie twice because we rented it for the weekend. We got to maximize
Right.
our potential. I watched this once because it did scare the hell out of me. But it was with so the idea was, me and my brother and my dad would we go to Blockbuster, pick a movie, and we do that popcorn thing, and we would sit down and we'd watch this movie. And Hellraiser, or sorry, not Hellraiser, Event Horizon. The advertising that it got, they obviously had to keep a lot of the viciousness kind of on the DL to market it well. So we looked at the trailer as it looked like Aliens, and we saw
Mhm.
characters that we knew. Sam Neill from Jurassic Park. So I see, I knew what Alien was, I knew what Aliens was, and to me, Aliens, is a horror movie, but it's also got that action thing, especially the sequel
Yeah.
with the Marines. They're shooting people, they're shooting the aliens and stuff, and you have control with that because you're like, well, that's an alien, I get it, that's scary, but then the gun can kill the alien, so that's fine. And seeing the way that Event Horizon set itself up, you're thinking you're going to get that alien story, and then I see Dr. Alan Grant, and I think I'm going to get that Jurassic Park story. So that was my setup for the film.
And you're right, because when they marketed this, they didn't really market this as a horror film. This was always marketed more as a just sci-fi thriller type thing. But I don't think anybody really knew going into it blind how truly traumatizing. And I mean, there's a lot of deep moments in this movie, like with Sam Neill's wife, and I can't remember the actress's name right now, but the things with her son, like there's a lot of deep, deep messages going on throughout this movie,
Mhm.
and a lot of very scary and effective scenes. But what would you say the scene was that affected you the most?
It would definitely have to be the ending. And I know in horror films, they're always going to get you with that hook, right? Jason comes back out of the water and grabs the kid, and you're like, oh no, he's still alive, because we have to make all these sequels. I think with Event Horizon, especially, growing up Roman Catholic community, this was a film where we got introduced to a variation of hell in an interesting way,
Mhm.
because you think of hell, as like beneath the earth. And again, this is like, in the 90s, this is what I know and understand. The fact that this spaceship goes out into the world, or out into space, and goes to a dimension of hell and comes back, and then so at the end you get you get your ending, and then you get your epilogue. It's 72 days later, and they come to rescue, and Sam Neill takes his helmet off, and he's all sliced up, and she's still in it, and then she wakes up from that dream, and then the camera slowly pulls out and slowly pulls out, and then the door just ominously closes. And as a kid, that was something that I then couldn't go to sleep, because I would just think of this door closing and how open ended it was. And I was, scared shitless for that, because the thing is Sam Neill just didn't die because the ship didn't want him to die. And he just kept coming. And there's something scary about, not having any control of that. Whereas, like, with a slasher film, like, you can direct who you have to kill, even though he might come back, you at least have some control. It's just when you get into, not necessarily supernatural, but like other dimensions,
Yeah.
it really opened up my mind to what could scare me.
And like you said, when that door closes, you're like, oh shit, it's not over. They
Yeah.
didn't stop it. So you have that feeling of, oh great, what are they going to do now?
Yeah, because the thing is the film could have ended with, Sam Neill pops the mask up, she wakes up from a dream, and then we just pull back and we cut it. It's just the fact that the door closed on them, it stuck with me. And as a kid, uh I loved watching horror movies. I loved scaring myself, and then I, hated the fact that I had to deal with nightmares, and I did a lot. So,
Mhm.
glutton for punishment in a way.
Well, and you talk about another scene I wanted to talk with you about because they all have their dark secrets. And I love the scene when Lawrence Fishburne's talking about, do you know what fire looks like in zero gravity? It's beautiful.
You ever seen fire in zero gravity? It's beautiful.
And we learned what happened with all that. Like, that's another scene that just the acting chops with Lawrence Fishburne, just to watch him portray that scene and the heartbreak that he feels. It's amazing. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and this is right before, I think, just before Matrix was coming out, right? So just before Lawrence Fishburne was like taking the stage as being like, I am a very credible actor, and
Yeah.
you will all appreciate me. So seeing the talent that they have on that roster of cast is pretty awesome. And yeah, to deliver something like that, it's like it's chilling.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, we talked about which scene affected you the most, but what would you say your favorite scene from Event Horizon is?
I was like, when they did the stuff with the sphere, I thought, like, to me, like, that was like so omnipotent, and it not necessarily like the fact that that was kind of in a way the dimension to hell, or the gateway to hell. Just anything in the sphere, I thought the even as a kid, it looked so cool, and it was so interesting. So yeah, all that stuff really, it caught me, and it was a lot of fun. Like, not fun, but it was just really
No,
captivating when I watched it.
yeah, I totally get what you're saying. And now as horror fans, something that we talk about all the time is the kills. We love the kills. We gravitate towards the kills. And I hate saying favorite, but that's dark. But what would you say this kill was that affected you the most and stuck with you the most from Event Horizon?
Oh, well, I think the death would have been like Sam Neill going down the first time, just because
Yeah.
it again, it caught me off guard so much, and then for him to come back and do the stuff with the eyes was really gripping. Anything with eyes really kind of messed me up watching this, because I a bit of a taboo just thinking about messing with somebody's eyes. So that was something that was like consistent throughout. Like when he would see his wife without eyes, just that idea of somebody, acting normal, but their eyes are so concaved. It was really that really caught me.
Oh, still does, man. That's still something that messes with me. Um, Now, a question I've been asking recently, and I'm very interested in this because I would like to see it, but Event Horizon now is, what, almost 30 years old. Would you like to see this movie remade today?
Yeah, I would definitely, I would take a remake of this. I think that they could not, they would just tell, a different story of it.
Mhm.
But I think that the premise is timely enough, or timeless enough, that it could definitely be told today. I think you give it a new cast, but like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a ship that goes to hell. The only other thing that would be, interesting in a way, is some of the stuff that they, cut out of this film that's been talked about. There's a lot of torture scenes that happen in this film where it showed what happened to the old crew. So the only thing that would be interesting to see in addition would be like what happens when the ship's actually in hell, because what we got to see is a ship that returned from hell and brought something with it. So it's almost like, do you go that interstellar level, or that space odyssey level, and the idea of going to hell is like this galactic journey. That would be, really interesting to see happen.
Oh, I'd love to see a prequel and see what exactly happened to that crew and then end it right with the Event Horizon coming back out of that portal. I think that would be so cool.
Right. Yeah.
So we talked about Event Horizon. That's your first horror movie. But now, man, I want to throw a little bit of a curveball at you here for a second. My little buddy Ghostface has a question for you. What's your favorite scary movie, Adam? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
The Shining. Hands down, The Shining.
It's funny because I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of things I always change back here on the set to, make it good for everybody. I like to put stuff about the movie we're talking about. Room 217 never leaves the set. Room 217 is always here. So it's always up here. That movie means so much to me, man. And I totally get it.
Yeah, The Shining is just such a great example of captivating suspense, and uh I love it. I love everything that's come from it. I love the documentaries that have come about it. I love the fact that we know that Stanley Kubrick would go around changing the rooms and changing the set dressing. I love the fact that the layout of the Overlook Hotel doesn't make any sense, and
Mhm.
we know that somebody like Stanley Kubrick um, obviously knew that, and that was his choice. It has to have been for it to be as, like, convoluted, and for all these continuity errors that people are calling, they're not. It's very much
Oh yeah.
part of the allure, and it's something that a brilliant filmmaker, a brilliant artist can do, that years later we're still uncovering these things.
Yeah. And like I said, you can't go wrong with The Shining, one of the greatest movies of all time, hands
Mhm.
down. Shelley Duvall and Jack Nicholson absolutely knock it out of the park throughout that whole movie. I love them both in that film. Um, so Adam, I've had a great time here with you, man. I've had so much fun talking about Event Horizon. This is the first time I've gotten to talk about this movie on this podcast. So before we end, I always go back to the same question. We're going to go back to Event Horizon, and we're going to rank this on a skull count. Now, we're not ranking it on acting, production, score, nothing like that. We're not being critics. What we're doing now is we're strictly ranking this movie on how much it affected you on first watch. So 0 being the worst and 5 being the best. What would your ranking of Event Horizon be?
Yeah, for this one, it's definitely a 4.5.
Mhm.
I think that it did just such great things that, and it just stuck with me. So yeah, it definitely is up there. And I rate your skull count against a lot of other horror that I watch. I think Event Horizon is a great film. And,
Mhm.
if you can look past some of the dated CG and just watch the film for what it is, I think it's a great film with great actors, and it's Hellraiser and aliens in space. And that's all it needs to
Yeah,
be.
right. It did what it wanted to do for sure. I do want to remind everybody I have all of Adam's social media links down here in the description, as well as the trailer for. You can watch all that down here because I want you guys to check this stuff out. Make sure you follow him on social media so you can get the release dates on everything that he's doing. Adam, don't go anywhere, man. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, as always, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.